I'm glad you sort of brought the issue into focus so sharply, because I've always felt that somehow water and water related issues have not been getting the public attention which power related issues have got. And to give you a very simple example, in the electricity side, we have now independent regulatory commissions, we have another law on energy efficiency, we have a Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Well, if you take a medium term view, you can always install power plants, import fuel and generate electricity. But you cannot import water. And if you cannot import water, you cannot create water, so water needs much greater attention. And if you look at the efficiency of water use, this is something which has been completely neglected, and you brought this out quite dramatically in terms of the amount of water used for power generation and the amount of water used for food grain generation. I would actually like to draw attention to a few themes and make a few specific suggestions. One is that the power sector, looking at it purely from power, I think we have lost almost 2 decades in pursuing power sector reforms around the proposition that we will make farmers pay for the electricity they consume at the cost of supply. So 2 generations, power ministers' conferences, reform recommendations, expert committees have said, you get farmers to pay for the power. And it has not happened, and my sense is that given the political realities of India, this subsidy will be as central as fertilizer subsidy and food subsidy, and we'll be able to tackle it more or less towards the end. So I think we start looking at the power sector recognizing the centrality of supply of electricity for irrigation and state level political compulsions of subsidizing this to different degrees. I think we would be better off as far as the power sector is concerned. And here I think what has happened, say in Gujarat and is being attempted in other states, is very important, because if you separate feeders for the village settlement from that feeder going for irrigation, then you can give better hours of supply, even 24 hours of supply, to the village settlement. The day you are able to do that, you bring the village economy into the industrial age. Because by not segregating the feeders and not giving 24 hours of supply, you are keeping rural India and people who stay in our villages in the pre-industrial age, and which in the 21st century should be clearly unacceptable. In fact, if we go back to the sanction of the Rajiv Gandhi village electrification scheme, the condition was that the hours of supply should be the same as the village settlements as in the urban areas to be eligible for 90% grant. But since separation of feeders didn't happen, this conditionality remained on paper. When phase 2 came, it was given up altogether, and it got converted into a weak thing of attempting 6 to 8 hours of supply. So separation of feeders is the key to bringing some rationality and a degree of manageability to the subsidy required for irrigation. Because if you separate feeders, then you can ration the supply to the hours that are actually needed for irrigation. You can give off-peak power, and if you give off-peak power and also differentiate between the rates of generation for peaking power and off-peak power, which is necessary if India is to ever overcome peaking shortages, then the rates for off-peak power should be a little above the marginal cost of generation, which is really the fuel cost. And if you price off-peak power at the fuel cost, which even today is not more than ₹1.50 per unit, then you can supply this electricity to 2.5 rupees a unit, in which case the subsidy is something which a growing economy with buoyant tax revenues can absorb. The moment you separate this feeders and the supply and the subsidy issue, then in theory the power sector as a whole should be commercially viable, because lifeline consumption in urban areas of BPL households are so modest that even if you were to give it free, I think you could still run it as a commercially viable sector. Because all you have to say is, take a correction, first 50 units are free and the rest we'll charge at the cost of supply, which is whatever, 4.5, 5, 6 rupees. And you can have 100% household electrification and still manage the subsidy. But we are unable to do it in most states because we have not segregated the supply to the rural areas in terms of the houses and from irrigation. The moment you look at this separation, then you can address the next big issue, which is the lower Ganges Valley, which remained more or less unelectrified till the beginning of the last decade, and where a great breakthrough has been achieved in taking the grid network to the village settlements. But because the Rajiv Gandhi Yojana focused only on village household electrification, the grid electrification for irrigation has not happened. Now it didn't quite matter because diesel irrigation came in vogue, and the satellite imagery showing that the irrigated area in this part is about 30% more than the officially reported irrigated area, because private investment in diesel generation is not captured in official data. But now that we are moving out from the period of subsidizing diesel, I think we need to take a holistic view of electrification of the lower Ganges Valley for irrigation, because if we want the higher growth rates in agriculture that we want, and if we do not want to impose greater stress on the farming community, then I think Eastern UP, Bihar and Bengal need to look very seriously at how to electrify rural areas for irrigation. Because if you have irrigation, you can get very high rates of agricultural growth, and these states need high rates of agricultural growth because success in manufacturing will take a little while. And fortunately, Bengal has reasonable rates of tariff for irrigation, and Bihar could attempt that. But I think if one were to take a holistic view of water, power and agriculture, and you look at the outlays on irrigation, which are provided as a matter of routine, then getting the 40,000-50,000 crores needed for electrification for irrigation in this part of India should not be difficult. So I would like to suggest this as a major agenda for reform and discussion in the policy space. Then there is another dimension which you flagged, and which is the excessive use of water for production of agricultural crops and the wastage of electricity in irrigation. Because if you give electricity free, then I have no incentive to minimize the use of water and have water efficiency. I also have no incentive to put in energy efficient pumps. So if you look at the electricity spent in irrigation, I think I am told that roughly 50% can be reduced by just providing energy efficient pumps, which are made and manufactured in India. But we have to put in place creative mechanisms for incentivizing farmers to go in for this. There are many ideas on the table. You can put in, solar irrigation, or you subsidize the supply of energy efficient pumps, or you can take the extreme step of banning the production of inefficient pumps. The law permits that, and you could think of doing it. But I think we need to address that issue. And then if you want to move towards efficient usage of water for agriculture, the extreme proposition would be the one which we used in the power sector for 2 years, 2 decades and didn't succeed, which is you price water. I don't think politically India is ready for pricing water for agriculture. It is ready for pricing water for industry, but not for agriculture. So we have to find again creative ways of getting efficient use of water and not pricing it at market rates. So if you were to ration the supply of water in the hours of supply of electricity for irrigation, then you could incentivize farmers for using that water more efficiently. Similarly, if you were to subsidize, say, drip irrigation or find other ways of incentivizing farmers to do paddy cultivation without flooding fields, which is technically possible today, you'd be able to reduce water consumption. So reducing the intensity of water usage is a huge challenge. It has very difficult political and policy ramifications, but it's a debate we need to begin very seriously in this country, because when people ask me privately as to what is the biggest climate change crisis that India will face, I always say it is water, because global warming will hit us much later than the crisis of water, which is really right ahead. And finally, I would like to endorse very strongly what the moderator said, that we are not paying enough attention to local storage. Because our entire civilization as a great agricultural civilization evolved along rivers and along local storage. And local storage created through great feats of ingenuity even in the deserts of Rajasthan with tanks and the whole of central India and southern India. And somehow with the availability of groundwater through pumps, all these storages have been allowed to go into disuse. And I think we need a national mission to really create local storage across India. And again, that is something which is not getting enough attention. I'm conscious of the limitation of time, so I'll stop here.